Hey guys, Tony here, and in this video, we're going to take a look at this 7x300 watt channel beast from Tonewinner and discuss why you might want something like this in your setup, so stay tuned. First of all, I'd like to thank Fundamental Audio for sending this in to me for review. This is not a sponsored video, so all opinions about it are my own, and it is going back after the video is completed. That being said, this video is supported by all of those of you who smash the like button for me and subscribe to my channel. There is also a join button if you'd like to support me further, as well as links to my Discord community down in the description. Tonewinner have been making waves recently in the affordable end of the market with both amplifiers and preamp/processors, which I'm hoping to get in for review as well very soon. So as the name suggests, it's 7x300 watts, which is quite a bit of power and more than enough for most thirsty speakers. It does fall into the budget end of the market, coming in around $1,500 US, depending on where you shop in North America, but in Australia, the retail price is $24.99, which is pretty decent for 7 channels at 300 watts per channel. We have a Class H power supply, and if you look at the back, you can see there are suggested channel assignments, so it is certainly marketed for a home theater environment. There are solid fin stacks running down the sides, which help to dissipate heat. I'll leave a link down in the description to the technical layout of the circuit diagram. Each channel is rated up to 300 watts per channel into 8 ohms, so plenty of power on tap, especially if your speakers are not very sensitive. I don't have any way of measuring this personally, but later in the video, I'll show you the setup where I use my Crix Nuphonics and Epicentrics towers and center, which are 3-way speakers with 88 decibels and 90 decibel sensitivity respectively, and definitely benefited from the additional power over my AVR. So the dimensions are 440mm wide by 445mm deep and 197mm tall, and it weighs in at 26 kilograms, so it's pretty heavy. And as such, I decided to use my living room setup for the test, as I wasn't in a position to pull my main rack apart, having my Electra amps with the XLR cables all nicely done. I only just got all of that set up recently, so I wasn't up to pulling it all apart again. I will leave a link to the video above if you're interested in seeing my Trinov install after this video. So looking at the back, we have 7 channels available, labeled as front left, front right, surround left, surround right back, surround left back, and there is the option for both balanced XLR and RCA inputs. So depending on whether you have a processor or an AVR, you can have access to either of these inputs via the toggle switch. There is also the option for a 12-volt trigger, which is awesome so that you can control it via your processor or anything else which supports it. There is also a power reset switch available. If the unit disables itself due to a power surge, you can reset it via that button. As I have an Australian version of this amplifier, it is 50 Hz, 240 volts power and can supply over 300 watts. The speaker terminals are of exceptional quality. I'm very picky when it comes to terminals on devices, as sometimes you can get really cheap and nasty ABS plastic terminals, whereas these are a very solid yet soft gel coated and turn very nicely, and they also have holes there for banana plugs, which is what I'll be using for this video. Moving to the front of the unit, we have an old school style front panel, which I really like, which has a UV meter and only 2 buttons. One to turn it on and put it into standby, and then another button to change the LED backlighting. Installation was pretty straightforward, although a little painful for me as I had everything cable managed. First, I disconnected all of the speaker cables, which I had made up with some cheap banana plugs, and then I had the bright spark idea to maybe install my Denon 8500, which was previously in my dedicated home theater. But unfortunately, that didn't fit inside the TV cabinet, so I decided to stick with the Pioneer, and then ironically, I then just decided to put it on top of the amp. There is plenty of ventilation as it has isolation feet, and it's also in the open air, so no worries about overheating. First steps were to connect up the RCA cables carefully from the Pioneer, and for the sake of convention, I used the speaker assignment suggested on the back of the amp, as these towers may be wanting to pull a little bit more juice, so having them connected to the bigger heat sinks made perfect sense. Once the RCA cables were connected, it was time to plug in the speakers, which was nice and easy using the banana plugs. I was considering bi-amping the speakers, but I wanted to test out my multi-channel setup, so I connected my 7 speakers and then the remaining 2 overhead speakers directly into the AVR. I ran MCAC calibration so that I could get the speakers dialed in. Yes, my room is terrible acoustically because it's in such an open area with tiles, so a calibration was definitely necessary, but as this is our main living room, it was a great test to see how it would turn out. My first impressions were that the difference between the AVR and the Tonewinner was instantly noticeable. I mean, it should be expected considering it's a 300 watt per channel amplifier, but the first thing that I noticed was a clear difference in the positional sound coming from the LCR. There was a lot more bass coming through as well, as the high frequencies were also much clearer. Bass wise overall, it felt pretty much the same, as I didn't do any changes with the bass management other than the calibration, but for positional sound it was vastly improved. I have tested the Electra amps with these speakers in a previous video, and my impressions were that it does feel like there was a little more impact with this amplifier, and the Electra though was a little bit more detailed. It's like splitting hairs to even make that point, but I do have to say that I was really impressed with the Tonewinner considering the price point for the channel count and the power per channel. I'll play back some demos so that you can take a listen for yourself. Please bear in mind that my recording equipment is in a pretty echoey room and won't do justice through what is likely your iPhone speakers compared to being here, but it will give you some idea of what I'm hearing. I picked a few movies, but the demos are short so that I don't get pinged by YouTube. However, the music is from Epidemic Sound, which I use for all of my music needs in my YouTube videos. I'll have links down in the description. So the first thing that I'll say after listening and watching the movie demos is that the room just came to life. Now, not dissing a receiver setup, and the Pioneer flagship is certainly a capable receiver, but after calibrating and adding the Tonewinner, the room felt thicker and fuller with more impact. I especially liked the way the sound felt more detailed during the high frequencies and the vocals, and even in things like the car chase scenes, the engine noises were deeper than I was used to from this setup. I think the Tonewinner, especially having quite a bit more power, is good for my speakers, especially as they are pretty much identical. Having all of that power on tap helped to give the audio tracks that punch that was missing. In a way, it was bad for me to demo out here because it does feel a little lackluster when going back to the receiver, but if anything, even just for the review of this amplifier, this does make a great case for me in investing for a processor with separate amps versus a receiver. I had heard great things about Tonewinner, so I can't say that I'm overly surprised by the results, and to give my feedback on who I think this amplifier is for, I think that it's a great option for those without big budgets to get something that has lots of power but a nice clean output that won't break the bank. Like this setup, if you have a receiver with pre-outs, this is a great way for you to get into the game and test out how you like it, and in the future move to a processor. I'll leave links down in the description to where you can buy one, and I'd like to thank Fundamental Audio for sending it in for review. Overall, I'm pretty impressed by the value this amplifier presents, and I could definitely see it in one of my setups. Why don't you let me know what you think down in the comments section, and if you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, make sure you smash the like button for me, and consider subscribing to see my future videos. Again, stay tuned for an upcoming video where I'll be doing a review on the Tonewinner processor, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that one. A very big thank you for watching this far, but that's it for this one. You'll catch me in the next one. Bye for now.